Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. I am so glad you're here for this masterclass. I decided to record this more as a masterclass than to have smaller increments, even though I know small increments work. But we are going to just breeze through this today because some of this stuff I know you guys know, some of it is stuff that I know that you may need help with. And so we are just going to move through it. Okay. So if you are new here, I am Shauna. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm also a board approved supervisor for here in the state of Texas. I've been licensed since 2012, and I've been doing this thing. I am, as you saw by the description of this class, we are talking a little bit about how to use human design to build a practice that you are aligned with. And this is something that I've learned on my journey, but it wasn't anything that I didn't start out this way. And I think it goes to believe that when I initially started my journey in 2012 as a licensed therapist, and then I became a supervisor in 2015, and sometime after that was when I actually started seeing associates, but I didn't technically have clients that I was working with. And that didn't come along until a little bit later. And I want to say right around after COVID started, because there was such a high need for people to see clients that I actually started seeing clients. And I was actually really happy with working with associates because my private practice has technically always been part time for me because I do still work full time. And so I set it up in a way where it just worked for me. And I was happy with that. And I was good with that. I started to see clients. And I think that's kind of when everything kind of started to go in different directions and it became too much and too heavy. And I was introduced to human design like way before I started seeing clients, before I started all of this. But when I looked at the chart, and you'll understand when we get there, I was like, what is this shit? It is a lot. I don't know. And then I kind of like closed the book and was like, I'm not doing this right now. And so what I decided to do was, knowing after seeing clients and after working with clients, I just realized that there has to be a different way. There has to be a better way. And I finally pulled my chart about 3 years ago and was like, holy shit, this makes sense. I understand now. And basically immediately started taking the principles or the ideas of human design and started integrating them into my life first and foremost, and then into my practice. So this was just something that kind of naturally happened just because it made so much sense that now I'm in a place where when I work with my associates, we have started to integrate some of these same principles from their own human design because everyone is different, everyone is unique, and we'll get into that here shortly. But everything, it starts to make sense and things just work better and things get easier. I was actually watching a masterclass yesterday, and she was specifically talking to projectors because that's who she works with. And she was like, if it feels heavy, then I have energy leaks. And I have to be mindful of, if I have energy leaks, how is this going to translate into the world? Because it's not just about, yes, I know my stuff, I know my things, but my energy level that I have underlying is in everything that I do. And if it's not right, if I'm not coming correct with my energy, then we're going to have some issues. And I'm not about having issues. I'm all about having flow and good energy and all the things. Okay, so I've talked enough about me and everything else. Let's get into it. So let's start off with some exercise just to get centered and grounded because everything that I do, I like to be grounded, I like to be centered. If you feel comfortable, I want you to just take a minute and close your eyes, tap into your body. Take a good deep breath in and out. Notice how you're sitting. Maybe you're lying down for this. Wherever you are, just notice what's going on with your body. Do you have any aches and pains? Do you have a headache? What's happening? I want you to breathe in and out. And every time that you breathe out, you're letting go of what is no longer serving you. Breathe in and breathe out. So now that we have slowed the pace down and we have started to calm down or be calmer, on your next breath in, I want you to hold it in and then hold it for 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, and exhale out for 2, 3, 4, and then hold for 2, 3, 4. In for 2, 3, 4, and out for 2, 3, 4, and then hold for 2, 3, 4. Imagine roots growing in. You're grounding yourself, you're planting yourself, you're anchoring in your calm. Your body is safe. Keep breathing in and out. Okay. Now that we're kind of in a good place, when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes and we'll get started. Okay. So let's start off with our central nervous system. I think this is a good place to start because everything that I do, it is highly connected into our central nervous system. It's part of our grounding. It's part of our anchoring. It's so many things for us. And I think we, first and foremost, as a therapist, you have to take care of yourself. I know it's cliche to sound that, which is kind of why I do what I do. But if you don't take care of yourself, then you really can't serve your clients because you're giving from an empty cup. And so starting with your own central nervous system, this is a good place for that. So this is kind of how I like to describe the central nervous system and kind of like what's going on with there and what's going on with it. And so it's basically the command center of everything that we do. It's how our body responds to stress, to trauma, to everything. It is like it is the thing. It's compromised of just your brain and your spinal cord, but the pivotal thing that you need to know is and we'll get more into detail about it, there's a vagus nerve that goes from your brain to your gut. And so we've heard that our gut is our second brain. So if you're not eating right, you're going to know it. But the two are connected by this nerve in the way, the central nervous system generally connects all your nerve endings. It tells how your body to function. It's connected to emotions, your thoughts, your behavior. It's like connected to everything. It does everything. So it plays a huge role in how we just regulate psychologically, emotionally, and everything else that's going on with us. That's just like as you're sitting here listening to me, you're breathing without even thinking about it. That is your central nervous system. The other thing here is that when we become dysregulated in our central nervous system, it makes whatever symptoms we have, so if it's burnout, if it's secondary trauma, compassion fatigue, like whatever you're feeling, it's like on 10 and on steroids. And so I want you to, like, it leaves you feeling like overwhelmed, you feel depleted. Sometimes you're like feeling impacted just by what is going on because you're dysregulated. Now, we're going to talk about how to get regulated here in a second. The other thing that's going on is that culturally, perceptions and the understanding of what happens in the central nervous system is different. And so this is how we come with traditional healing practice, spiritual beliefs, societal norms, and all those things impact on how we view our central nervous system and how it works. So if you look on the slide, there is two charts, and this is kind of how I like to explain it to my clients in particular. Our mood is supposed to go up and down, up and down. And that's the chart probably on your left, or it's my left. It goes up and down, up and down. That is how our stress levels are supposed to happen. When we have a stressful event, we go up. When we're done with that stressful event, it should come down to at least baseline. Not necessarily feeling sad or depressed, but at least baseline. And the thing about that is what happens is that when we go into our stressful state, our frontal lobe shuts off and it doesn't work anymore. And uh, it's tapped into some other things. But know that we have highs and we have lows, and that's on purpose. And there's some things that are happening automatically in our system that affect how we function from day to day and from people. So, another thing that I like to explain to my clients is that we have what I like to call the Fab Five. So the Fab Five is these are the five major things that most people, if not all, I hate saying all because you never know, but most people are going to experience this something, one of these five, at least once in their life, if not more. So the first one would be is a wedding or a death. I mean, a divorce, sorry, a wedding or a divorce. The second would be is having a baby. Third would be moving or a big housing change. Four would be a big medical change or some medical issues. And the fifth would be like a big job change. So these are the things that the average person is going to deal with regardless of culture, nationality, race, it doesn't matter. They're going to deal with these five things in some kind of way, shape, or form. These are stressful events that naturally spike us up, and but then we should come back down after some time has passed. The problem comes in with regulating our central nervous system with these things is when we go up, and before we have a chance to come back down, another one of the Fab Five actually happens. So this would be like, oh my God, I just had a baby, I lost my job, and then someone died. Like, that's what would happen. And so the way we process each one is a little bit different than we process the next. And so it's kind of understanding that your natural responses may be different for everyone. Everyone's different feels these things differently, but it's just knowing that they happen and they occur. And so remember when I was talking about the frontal lobe, the frontal lobe goes off for 24 hours when we're in our stressful state. But it's also connected to what I call our upstairs brain and our downstairs brain. Our upstairs brain is that frontal lobe. It's the thinking, it's the critical logic space that we have. The downstairs brain is more of what is our body doing and how it's responding. And that would be in the back of our kind of head down by the spine where the head and the spine meet. I'm not going to get into the technical terms, but there's just the two places that we have to be mindful of, okay? And where that is. So when there's too much stress for too long, that is what equals or creates or brings on chronic acute stress, as well as probably a whole host of diseases, because the diseases are connected to inflammation. And one of the things that's happening in your body when you're super stressed is inflammation. Okay, so here brings in the main theory. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but polyvagal theory is basically how we start to align and get clarity on our central nervous system. Like, it's connected to, again, all the things. And the big connection here from our brain to our gut is the vagus nerve, because everything is connected to the vagus nerve, kind of like as you go down. Okay. And it controls everything. This was developed by Dr. Stephen Porges, and it's just the framework that we're using to understand like how everything is connected and how you can tap into your body in order to regulate yourself. It's funny how It's not just my human design, because a part of my human design, my root center, and we'll get into that, it's defined. So I'm pretty calm anyway. But it's crazy how I've learned to kind of regulate in other ways. And my calm, for a lot of people that in stressful situations, like they'll look at me and be like, why are you so calm? And it kind of looks like I'm, say, sad or depressed, even though that I'm not. It's just that I've learned to, one, regulate my system so that I am just naturally calmer, but two, that is also my natural state, is just to be calmer. So it's a lot of things. Okay, so when we look at polyvagal theory, there are three parts or three states to the autonomic nervous system. So again, these are things that are happening automatically. So if we look at the ventral vagal, this is the one where it's safety and connection. This is where clarity, creativity, and the intention, decisions, this is like where everything lives and it comes from. This is how we are engaging with the world. This is when we are probably at our most content, most happy space. We'll go into more detail about these, but I'm just doing a quick introduction. Then we have the sympathetic nervous system place. This is our flight or fight space. So this is urgency, reactivity, feeling overwhelmed. This is where this lives. Our dorsal vagal is where we shut down. This is disconnection and avoidance. This is the place where we're just like, yep, nope, I'm not doing it. Yep, I'm just here. I'm just here. Okay. So let's talk about the ventral vagal for a quick second. This is our rest and digest place. So if you're looking at the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system, this is also your parasympathetic nervous system, because we're going to talk about it technically twice. And then it'll make sense in a second. But this is probably where we're the calmest. This is where we feel grounded and safe. This is where we are relaxed. This is the place where we want to live and where we want to be all the time. It just is. This is it. So if you go back to the previous charts that I had, where it was kind of red at the top and kind of red at the bottom, in the middle is that happy space. But when you look at the charts for polyvagal, it looks different. But essentially, in ventral vagal state, you're in the middle, you're feeling good, you're not too high, you're not too low, you're in a good spot. Okay, so here we have the sympathetic state, our fight or flight state. Ooh, that's like a tongue twister. And so here is when, like, anger kicks off, you're hyper focused. This is where the anxiety lives. This is where, think about like your anger cues. This is what this is. This is how you know that you are in this sympathetic state. Like, so keep that in mind, that when you feel your body changing from a calm state to a more agitated or up or depressed state in some cases, this is where you're at, right here. So then the last one is your dorsal vagal. So this is when, again, we shut down, we're avoiding, we're disconnected. Excuse me. And this is where we just kind of like to hide and go away and just, we're not going to do anything here. This is just where we're at. And it's hard to, because you're in such a depressed state, it seems like, it's hard to do anything else. But this is also our parasympathetic nervous system. It's just that we are too low versus a calm low, because there's a difference. Why does this matter? Because again, polyvagal really just explains how we are influenced by our thoughts, our emotions, our actions. It's like it's all connected. It also helps us understand and recognize like when we're dysregulated. Because if the goal is to be in ventral vagal, be grounded and regulated all the time, you should be able to tell easily when you're not regulated. The other piece is that this is not just about like recognizing feeling safety or when you're unsafe. It's about just working towards feeling more connected to your body. And ultimately, if you are grounded and safe and connected to your body, then the creativity and all those things just start to flow. So, part of understanding this is like we have to understand there are different pieces that kind of come along with this. The first is the role and conditioning that plays in society, our professional culture, our internalized shoulds. This is our family unspoken rules, like whatever it is. Like these are the things that are put upon us. If you think about most of our rules, schemas, and whatever else that we're dealing with and how we operate, our core beliefs, they are all ingrained in us by the time that we are 13. And sometimes things happen after that because there are traumatic experiences that we have, and then it creates some kind of core belief or issues there. But I'm talking about our deep rooted thoughts and feelings typically happen by the time we're 13. And we come to a place in our adulthood where we start to have trouble with them. We have to figure out like, do I get rid of this? Do I change it? Or like what happens? Like because it's not working for you anymore and it's creating problems. So the thing here is that the way we feel is again connected to our central nervous system. And when we're in our sympathetic state, this is when we start hustling out of fear. We're overbooking, we're people pleasing. We're in our dorsal state, we're avoiding tasks. We're not feeling, like we want to market or we want to do anything. We feel paralyzed. We can't make decisions. Like there's all these things. So I'm going to challenge you to reframe this and say, these patterns are not personal failures. They are survival adaptations, and awareness is the first step towards change. Like, yes, these are all the things that we came in to life with or we picked up, but they don't have to be what is our norm and how we operate. You can let those go, they no longer serve you. The second reason that we want to understand all this is like because there's a difference I am finding between traditional self care and actual nervous system regulation. And so I want to challenge the myths of traditional self care because you hear like, oh, you just need to have boundaries. You need to take a bubble bath. You need to do yoga. You need to problem solve or have I don't know, come up with a whole list of things. However, even though all those things are great, because I am one, I love getting my hair done. Can you see? I just got it done. These things are great. However, they're technically not regulating your nervous system, or the practice you're using is not technically aligned for you. We'll get into that in a second because this connects to your human design because it's different for everyone. And so when we are working out of exhaustion, our nervous system is not regulated. We're not making great decisions from there. This is why alignment to your design and how you do that is also flowing through how your practice is set up. It's all connected because you have to understand that your energy and the dynamics of your personal energy is what is connected to everything else. Okay, the last reason why this is kind of important and we want to peel this back is there are some more conditioning and other self-care myths. So let's just think about like what are the beliefs about self-care that have left you feeling like you're failing or you're not doing enough? What are actual replenishing energy things that you do versus what I should do, or just check off the box that I did self-care. These are some things I want to leave you with that I want you to kind of explore and kind of get an idea of where you are. I want you to encourage, like, you can step out of the box with your self care and how that looks, and it can be more aligned and be more nervous system regulation. Now, so the question that I get is, okay, I hear what you're saying, but how do you actually do that? Because you're still technically doing the same activities that you're doing, right? Like yoga, walking, bike riding, all those things. We're still doing those things, but make sure you're doing the ones that work best for you. So, as a projector, I do need more rest or time for rest. Rest can look different for all of us. So, I have found, like, in the middle of my day, I don't need to take a nap, but I'll go lay down just because my body is horizontal, my body is resting, and I can discharge the energy from other people that I'm picking up and then kind of letting it go. And then I can come back to whatever I'm doing and then, like, get things done and be quick about it. The other thing that I want to leave this first part with is we have to tap into our body, because in order for us to make good decisions, we have to be in a regulated state. In order for us to be at our best, we have to be in a regulated state. So, for some things that you might want to look at regulating your central nervous system more than anything else would be humming, singing, mantras, chanting, gargling, or just laughing, because the vibration that is happening on the vagus nerve is what's helping your vagus nerve calm itself. Then there's cold water. I mean, take yourself a cold plunge, a cold shower, bath, or just splash cold water on your face. Whatever you need to do, because it's the opposite action of, like, probably what's actually happening. Yoga, meditation, other exercises, maybe some shoulder shrugging or muscle relaxation, rebounding are great as well. Belly breathing, such as belly breathing or box breathing. EFT, butterfly tapping. These are all great as well, because when you start tapping, again, you're creating a vibration for that vagus nerve to start to calm. There's foot massages or healing drops. Make sure you're on top of your gut health and intermittent fasting if you need to. Getting omega-3s and probiotics. These are just all things to help the central nervous system calm. Making sure that we have dim lights, especially in the evening before our sleep routine, as we still need those. I know we're not 5, but we still need those. Then there's other things like social connections. So making sure you have your core people of safe people, do solo dates, find someone who, you know, doesn't really interject with your or go overstep your boundaries, but these are things that can be helpful with how you can reset or kind of regulate your nervous system. So think about what are some things that you want to do, like, every day, to just kind of do that, and then maybe try to do that a couple times a day. I'm going to encourage you to look at what is your current practice and how can you make some changes so that you can become more regulated and aligned. Because when you're in this space, again, regulated and aligned, you start to make better decisions about life, about your practice, and everything else. Okay, so for homework for the first piece, I am going to say take 5 minutes, get yourself regulated, do some regulating practices, and then think about what is one value I want to prioritize in my life and in my practice this week. What is one small aligned action that I can take this week to regulate my central nervous system and move closer to my vision? These are things that you just can take a moment and kind of reflect on that. But I'm going to keep moving. Okay. So we're really going to start diving into how this energetic blueprint stuff works and really understand that. So, human design basically is the system that was developed, I want to say, in the early 70s. It came as a download to the owner, Ururu, if I'm saying that correctly. And the best way that I can describe it, or I have found easier to describe it, is take your standard personality test like Myers-Briggs or the MMPI, add astrology to that, and then put that on steroids because they had a baby. That is human design. And like I said in the beginning, it was something that I have known for a long time, but never really looked into it until I really pulled my chart like 3 years ago and was just like, oh my God, this like totally makes sense. Like it's a thing. So if you haven't pulled your chart, I'm going to say pause this, take a minute, pull your chart. Because as we go through this, it's going to be important for you to see the aspects on your chart. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, so there are 12 guiding principles in the human design. And it's just knowing that you are individual, you are not broken. You need to stop listening to like the inner voice telling you should be doing something. It's making decisions your way. It's whatever the world needs. There's a way that you're supposed to feel that need for like the vision. This is like just energy. Like there's a whole bunch of things here. And I want you to just sit in this place of when I learn about human design, it's all an experiment. You do what works for you and you do what you think could be helpful for you because it's an experiment. Okay. Nothing else. So let's take a quick look at the different components. So your defined centers, just so that we can understand how to read our chart as we go through this. This is only, but keep it brief. Keep it simple, keep it brief. So defined centers are the colored in centers that we have. And so on this chart that you're looking at, there are all the square or shapes in the middle, and then the one on the side. These are defined centers. This is what is reliable energy to you. They all are different things, but they're reliable energy to you. If your center is colored in, this is yours, not anybody else's. Okay. You are the influencer. It's your core strength. It's your consistent energy. Undefined centers are all the white ones. This is where you take in energy from other people who are probably defined in this space. You amplify that energy and you give it back. So it's just a place where we can connect, and then the energy here feels very inconsistent. It sometimes feels conditioned because again, it's coming outside of you. Again, your defined center is coming internally, undefined is coming from outside of you. Your channels, so you see all the numbers on the side, the first number before the dot, and then those correlate with numbers that are like in each center. Those are I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The channels are the lines that are connecting between the numbers. Let me rephrase that. And so on each side of the line, right, they're connected to a gate. The gates are the numbers. So all the numbers you see on your chart are the gates. Defined gates, defined channels are the colored in. That is yours. That is your energy again. Undefined or open gates and channels is not yours. Now, you may see where on the chart it says hanging gate. Part of it is defined, the other half of that channel is not. Because this is a place that is not actively connected and it's unconnected between the two spaces. But sometimes in order to complete that space, you need to connect with someone that you know or you're connected with or who you're working with may have defined, and it helps complete your gate. I'm not getting into all the nuanced details, but there's so many when it comes to human design. I just want you to understand, like, if your stuff is defined, colored in, it's yours. If it's not, it's somebody else's. It comes from someplace else. Now, there's some magic in the undefined space because it can help you do certain things. But for now, we're going to leave it to the basics. Okay. So, in human design, there are 5 energy types. Each energy functions differently, moves differently. So, you have your generator, or let's start with manifester. We're going to start with manifester. That's the first one on the left. I'm just kind of jumping around. I don't want to do that. Manifestors are your initiators, your visionaries. Like, basically, they can show up and be like, hey, this is what we need to do. And then kind of like put it out there. Your generators are the builders. They are energized when they are in their aligned work. And so what they'll do is they'll take the vision from the manifestors, and then the generators will go and do it and build it. Now, your manifesting generators are multi-passionate peoples, but y'all are efficient. You're a combination of a manifester and a generator, but you can lose interest very easily, and you have like different things that you're interested in. So that's why y'all are multi-passionate. But you can come up with a vision, but yet you are great at executing it as well. So that's the thing. If you're a projector, you are the guide, you're the wisdom seeker. I'm a projector. So basically, think of yourself as the lighthouse. You are guiding people to wherever their destination is that they are trying to achieve. And this is just what you do. The other big piece is that you can see the bigger vision of like what's happening and then be able to guide people. Now, there are some nuances that start coming with these things, but just know. Reflectors, you are the mirror of the entire collective. The thing that's very unique about reflectors is like they're only 1% of the population. Projectors are like 22, and then the rest of the world are manifestors, generators, and mani-gens. But reflectors, you're 1%. And basically, you don't have any defined centers. So if you're looking at your chart, you're probably like, holy shit, I don't see any defined centers because you're a reflector. You take in energy and the vibes from everybody, everything, and then you reflect it back. That's all you do, is you are reflecting the collective. The other piece that we want to know is, so as you're looking at your chart, right? There are 2 numbers. So one thing that I didn't explain, it might be helpful to go back real quick. I didn't explain. So on this particular chart that you see, the darker brownish color, it says soul purpose. On some charts, it says personality. This is the stuff that you know to be true for yourself. Like, you know these things about yourself already, right? On the other side, it says life purpose. On many charts, it says design. This is the unconscious space. So personality is conscious. Design is your unconscious space that you don't really know about, but these are the things that you learn about yourself and you can bring forward. Okay. All right. So when we're looking at our profile lines, there are a few things that are happening. So wait, let me go back and let me show you exactly where, because I should have put another chart in here. In the first side of each line, right? So look at the very top square, that is your sun. So your conscious sun and your unconscious sun is on the left. So the gold side is more your unconscious space. Your the number that I'm referring to is the number that is behind the dot. Okay. So this one is a 2-4, right? Or a 4-2. That's kind of what it is. So that's what I'm talking about when I go to profiles. Hopefully I won't flip back again. Okay. So the first number that you have in that line is your conscious line. So whatever is on your personality side, your conscious line. So mine is a 3. On the second number is your unconscious line. So that's the gold side. Mine is a 5. And so your conscious line is how you see yourself. Your second number is how others perceive you. And so if you are a 1, you're an investigator, you're doing the research, you got to know all the details and ins and outs, and you can go down that rabbit hole and find out all the things that are there. If you're a 2, you're just naturally good at what you do. But you also have a component that needs to retreat and kind of go away and hide. If you're a line 3, you learn and do by trial and error. Like, you are giving your life and your space because of that. If you are a line 4, you crave connection and community. Like, that's how you make your stuff happen. If you're a line 5, you are the problem solver. So basically, like for myself, I like to do trial and error, and then I will come and then teach and give the problems, give the solutions for people who want to hear that here. Line 6, y'all are the wisdom sage folks. It comes in stages though. That's what you have to be mindful of. As it comes in stages, the older you get, the more you become like that wisdom person, kind of like in like space, like older space. I'm losing my words, but that's okay. You're the role model. You're the one that people want to look up to. So the next thing that you need to be aware of is your inner authority. So basically, this is your inner GPS. It tells you how to function and how to move through this world. It tells you how to just kind of react to this space. And for each one, it's different. And so I've listed here what they are. I am considered an emotional authority. And in that space, I need to take time and let my emotional wave kind of go. I can't make decisions in the moment. I need to make sure that I have clarity once my emotional wave has gone. If you're a sacral, this is like a gut instinct, yes or no. Like, like, in your gut, deep down, what it is. If you're splenic, this is just like some inner knowing intuition that you have. Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it's not, and you might have to kind of sit with the energy, but it's knowing that it's there. Your ego, this comes from your heart. And so this is the willpower, this is the desire, it stems from your personal desires, whether you truly have the will and energy to commit something, to something. This is not about logic, and it's more about what your heart truly wants. Self-projected. This is that guidance through self-expression. So when you are in your truth comes out through speaking. Talking things kind of out is how you know if you're on the right path or you're doing the right thing. So this is like self-projected folks need to have like a sounding board essentially. I'm sorry, let me go back and self-projected is also considered mental like authority as well. So partly because of that ajna that they have. If you have environmental, that is also mental, not self-projected, sorry. Mental. And this is the one that gives you clarity. This is the one where when the environment is right, you're in the good space, and we'll talk about environment in a second. It gives you the clarity that you need, and it helps you make the decisions that you need. My lunars, this is for my reflectors only. Typically, only reflectors are lunars, and they have to be patient. They have to wait the lunar cycle. Yes, you have to wait the 28 days. There are things that you can put in place so that it doesn't feel like you're waiting 28 days to make a decision. But essentially, in order to feel good in your decisions, you have to wait a lunar cycle. Okay, so now we think about like our unique approach to life is in our strategy. So authority and strategy are the two things. If you don't walk away with anything else with this, if you start making decisions based upon your authority and your strategy, then you are on the right track. So each one is different. Just know that I can go into so much detail about these different ones, but I just want you to know, like, essentially, you have to just kind of use this as a way to, instead of rushing into things, you make decisions based upon your strategy, and then you use your inner authority to know if you're on the right track. I'll leave it at that. So then the next piece is, how do you know that if you're not in alignment? That is considered your not self. Like, these are the things that come up when you are not in alignment and you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. So you've probably ignored your strategy and your inner authority. Another piece that pops up is your incarnation cross. Now, this is just basically, it's your sun and your earth, which are the top two squares on your chart on both sides. So it's your design, your personality side, as well as your design side, your conscious and unconscious side. It's on both sides. So the first two boxes on each side of your design on the chart comes up with your incarnation cross. And based upon that, this represents your core energy and your purpose for life. What are you supposed to be doing and bringing into this world? Whatever that is. For everyone, it's different. Again, it's different aspects that represent how are you supposed to show up and do your thing in the world. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to leave you with is, what a small decision that you can make based upon your strategy and your authority. And then how does that make you feel? I just want you to kind of sit with that, review your chart, review your channels and gates, and then just kind of understand, like, just take a minute and read through it and just understand the different components of it. You're not going to understand all of this all at the same time, but you're just going to understand, like, generally, how is this and how does this make me feel, so that I can make better decisions and move that have a more aligned energy with myself, but yet with my practice. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick drink here. Okay, so we're moving through the third part. And this is, we're going to dive a little bit more into the actual how are we setting things up. And then we're going to tie it back to being regulated and using your human design. So structure doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't have to be a one size fit all. It doesn't have to be. And that's the beauty about using human design to do anything, is because it's all an experiment. You could do what you want to do, set it up how you want to set it up, see how it works. And if it don't work, you go back to the drawing board and figure something else out. That's the beauty of it. So the problems that we typically have is being so rigid and in this box. Now this has been the biggest thing for me as I have graduated grad school, moved through the licensure process, and something that I've picked up along the way is we are so much in a box. Like, from the time we graduate or go to school and graduate and start working, we're in this box. It's a box that's been created for us. And it's something that I've worked really hard to get outside of the box. And I try to help other people lean out of the box with me, because when you start leaning out the box, you could give a shit about what people think or feel about you. And you just do what you do. Like, and it's good for you. Like, it's okay. So the problems that we have is that everything doesn't always work for everyone. And a lot of times things are misaligned with us and it just doesn't work for us. And I think this is why I think human design works so well in integrating, because you're working with how you are built, what your design is, not anything else, but for you. So, what is the first step? I want you to take a minute and understand, what is your client journey. So map out, like, from the first time you meet this person to the very last session, what does that journey look like? What does the intake process look like? What is your boundaries when it comes to like your session frequency, your scheduling? How does that feel supportive for you? What are the things you want to put in place for follow up, or just what aligns with your style? So think about what feels easy and aligned in your client process, your client journey, and what feels draining and clunky. Now, if you don't have a current practice together already, and you're kind of, so you're in a space where you're redesigning, that's what I want you to think about. What is your current journey, and what feels good versus what feels clunky? If you are new to this and haven't done anything at all, I want you to think about like, what do you want it to feel like? If, and in many cases, we are our ideal client at some point in our life. And so think about like, if you were in that space still, what would you want in your client journey? Like, what would you want to happen? And that's a good way of looking at it. The second part is we're going to design and put things in place that match your energy. So it's understanding what is your natural energy rhythm. And we just talked about all that. What are your energy peaks and your valleys? Like what's the highs? What's the lows? Like it's understanding all that. Then it's going to be taking the systems that are kind of out there, and we'll talk about that, put those in place, but it aligns with your energy so that it reduces resistance. We're also going to, as much as we can, simplify and automate, because this also reduces friction, creates ease, and it makes things less complicated. So when you're thinking about your systems that you want to put in place, what systems or tasks feel like friction, right? If you have a current setup, right? And if you don't, let's think about that. And then two, how would you simplify or automate? So some things to kind of throw out there is, in my practice, yes, I still see clients, but all of the like initial intake paperwork and all those things are, it's more of an automated process. um I've even started to, which is really easy and simple to put in place when you have an EHR, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I've also actually started to try to automate my intake process with my associates, because it's just, there's always that component that I always hated, the back and forth emails about trying to set up a chat and all this other kind of stuff. And so I finally figured out an easy way to just kind of automate that process. And I've had a chance to use it already, and it actually seems to be better. So from now, I'm going to start making tweaks to it moving forward. The third step you want to think about is you want to be able to prioritize your freedom and your stability. So this is balancing the flexibility that you can have for yourself, but also creating stability through your predictability. So think about like, you want to have loose plans. Like if you want to use social media, you want to have loose content plans on how to do that, but not be rigid. It's about how do you want to work with your clients and understand like what is the flow of the way you work with your clients, not so much the client journey, but the way that you're working with your clients. And it's just think about what are the things that you can put in place that create freedom through flexibility, but yet it's stable with the predictability of things. Okay, so here is like the lowdown basic logistics that we need to start a practice. Like there's another section that there's a little bit more things, but think about like, you don't need anything else. You just need to make a decision based upon what feels good to you. So we know what HIPAA is. It's at the doctor's office. Most places will give you a BAA, which is like an agreement. It's a confidentiality agreement that most, like your EHR and all that, it's kind of built in. So they'll give that to you. So that's something you typically don't have to worry about. But think about, what is your business structure? Do you want an LLC, an S corp? Like that's something you talk to the tax people about. But from there, you may not be able to afford an LLC right away because you're just starting off. So maybe look at a DBA. DBA, you can put it for the whole entire state, or you can just put it for the county. But that could be sufficient for the time being. Your EIN is something you get from the government. But again, these are all kind of like identifiers on what you do. I would use the EIN versus your personal social security number, but that would be the difference. So then there's the insurance credentialing. If you want to take insurance, if you're an associate, you cannot take insurance until you're fully licensed, unless you work with a group practice and they have something set up. But if you're on your own, you cannot take insurance. But for those that are fully licensed, you can go do a CAQH, which is basically this long ass document where you put all your information in, and it helps with the insurance credentialing piece. So if you want to take insurance, do that part first before you start the whole process with the credentialing thing. Everyone needs an MPI. Now, it's another identifier number, kind of more with Medicaid. I'm not sure. I've had this number forever. I'm not sure what we use it for other than to plug it in certain spaces, but I have yet to see an actual use for that number. I'm just saying. That's my thoughts. We all need malpractice insurance. If you are under supervision, you should already have that. But if you are fully licensed and don't, you need to have malpractice insurance. I know it's like regular insurance, car insurance. You probably don't really need it, but then when you really do, it really counts. So just get you some practice insurance. I'm going to suggest a separate PO box, something. The only thing is that here in Texas, when you do your EIN or when you do your business thing with the state, the Secretary of State, your LLC, you have to use a physical address. And so, like me, I'm a virtual practice. I actually have to use my home address, but I still have a PO box. So everything else has a PO box, but the state technically has my home address as my location because I work from home. Okay, so think about, you need a website, a phone number, an email. Your Depending on your website, you may get connected to Google Workspace, which actually can give you a professional email. So there's that. Have a separate bank account because it just makes life easier. Bookkeeping, accounting, EHR, G Suite, which is also the Google Suite I was just talking about. Or are you going to go straight up old school and have paper and pen and like checks and stuff? Like just whatever you want. The last piece that you need for setup is forms and your notes, just like your progress notes. I'm sorry. So these are at minimum basic things that you need to have in place to start a practice. Most people will ask me, well, how much money do I need? I say if you have $1,000, you're probably good to, like, if you have $1,000 saved, you're probably good. If you don't have $1,000 saved, because that could be, like, for me, I didn't have that when I first started my practice. I started with the things that were easy or simple. Like, I didn't start off with a LLC. Like, I just didn't have one. I had a DBA and that was like $25 with the county. I never took insurance. Your MPI is free. Malpractice was something you had to have, but that's something you can pay monthly. I paid for a PO box, and then I paid for a website. The phone I was already had because the internet package we had at the house had a phone number attached to it that I didn't use. So I just used that as my business line for a long time. Actually, I still do that actually. And the email came with the website, and then I had a separate bank account. It wasn't a business account, but it was just a separate bank account, and those are free to set up. So the only thing that I was really paying for up front was insurance, the EHR, and the website and the PO box. That's what I paid for. And I had a few $100s, and I did that. I took care of that. And then when I started seeing associates and clients and stuff like that, then it was like, oh, well, this is paying for that. And then it was easier to start adding in other things. So let's bootstrap this. All right. For homework, I want you to just think about, like, what are the systems you want to put in place? What are the things you have? Who are the operating systems? Because, like, say EHR, there's a ton of them out there. do a quick homework research. What have you heard other people talk about? I've tried a few of them, and I actually recently changed probably about 6 months ago to Orchid. They're amazing. It's like Simple Practice, but a little bit easier to use. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's like way cheaper. Like it just is. So make a list of things, of places that you need to do, like your to-do list on who and where you're going to take care of. Okay. Let's keep this party moving. Okay, so we're going to move on to marketing. Marketing is one of those things where we just need to redefine the way we think about marketing. Because, yes, traditional marketing can feel crappy. It can be fear based. It can have resentments. It can have all of these things. But if we reframe it as marketing can be a connection, this is how we work with people. And if we're using our strategy and authority, then we are in alignment with how our marketing works. Okay. So if I think about like my inner authority is emotion, so I have to wait waves, but my strategy is wait for the invitation. That doesn't mean I just kind of sit around and just twiddle my thumbs. I am actively doing things that make me feel good and basically putting the word out and saying, this is what, I'm doing, right? This is what I have. And then when people either sign up for it or send me an email or whatever, I'm waiting for the response, waiting to respond, because that was the invitation that I needed to receive, because I have to wait for the invitation. And so when someone signs up or emails or anything, that is the invitation for me to start engaging with them, back and forth conversation. So based upon your authority and strategy is how you're going to put that in for marketing. Okay. The other piece of this is knowing who your ideal client is. This is the person, like again, like I said, it's probably a previous version of yourself at some point. That is probably your ideal client. And one way to find out kind of things about your ideal client is to kind of sit back, do some deep breathing, kind of ground yourself, get yourself in a good headspace, and then do a journal prompt on your from your ideal clients, like space, right? From their energy, from their thoughts. So think about like, what things are they struggling with every day? What do they want out of life? How do you think that they're asking for help, or what are they asking for? Like, and then you start thinking about like, okay, well, how can I help this client, or how could I identify or be uniquely for them? So these are the things that you're going to start looking at for your ideal client. The other piece that comes with knowing your ideal client is knowing how that is going to resonate with your values, your approach, and your energy. So that's the other piece to knowing all of that. Okay, so one way to market is to basically share your story. And this is a way, again, to connect with people. It's not about services. It's not about anything else. It's just about being relatable, approachable, and just being able to share without sharing too much. Like, so if you're using social media, what are stories that you can put out there that you're sharing about your journey and how you went from here to here in order to attract that ideal client that you once were, right? It's about knowing to be vulnerable, but yet professional without being like just putting it all out there on the table. There's a way to be able to do that. So, one of the things that I have that's kind of like part of my story is I never knew exactly how to do things. And I always had to figure it out. I always had to go and learn because I didn't have people to just like, oh, here, go and do this. This is how you do this. And so Now, when I work with my associates, that is how I kind of tend to operate, was because I didn't have anyone guiding me on how to do things, how to set things up, build a practice without a lot of money, because a lot of people think you got to have like $1 million to freaking build a practice, and you don't. And I figured out how to bootstrap everything and just do it. And so now I've turned around and be able to teach my associates the same exact thing. It's like, how can we take what you've gone through and make it something that is more relatable for others? Okay, so how are we going to use our energy, our type, our profile to do this? So, this is what we're going to talk about here next. So, just generally stick to things that feel more aligned and authentic. Remember, it's not a one size fit all. We are speaking from our heart, we're speaking authentically. We're sharing your why, your value, and all the things. Even if you're not doing video and you're not doing social media, on your website should express these same things. Um, and then just honor the process. That's really important more for generators and manifestors, but just honor the process that you're dealing with, you're going through. So if you are a manifester, just make sure you are sharing your vision, you're being unapologetic. Um, you're informing your audience and just creating, about what you're doing and creating, you're building trust. Like, these are all the things. The thing you just don't want to do is over explain. You don't want to force. You don't want to make it seem like it's the friction, right? So just be mindful of where you're at. You are a thinker, a visionary, big picture. Give that to people. If you are a generator, you just are naturally magnetic. You can get the work done. Make sure you do what lights you up. If it doesn't light you up, then you're not aligned. That's all I'm going to say about that one. Mani-gens, my multi-passionate people, show your versatility and your excitement. That's what they're going to see as you. Like, keep your, communications, keep it short and fast. Just, I'm here, I'm passionate, this is what I love, blank and blank, and just keep and get it done, because you just have so many things. Like, just don't put yourself in your own box, because that's not going to be helpful. For my projectors, okay, remember, you are the guide, you're the lighthouse. You are going to put valuable insight into the world, and then you're going to wait for people to recognize that, and then kind of you're waiting for that invitation, for that thing to come back. And so I have learned in my own strategy that I I don't do well with video. Well, I do well with video, but as far as like being there every day, all the time, like, that's a lot for my energy. And so I've learned to work in my burst and put things in burst and then put it out there and then kind of see what happens. For reflectors, remember, you're intuitive, you're wise, you're in the mirrors. And basically, your thing is you're waiting through your cycle, your lunar cycle, you are reflecting back what is actually happening in the world. So, like, the trends, the energy, the whatever is happening, you reflect that back. Okay, so here's another little piece. This is maybe going a little bit too deep for some people, but if you want to go and mark it through your actual energy type, and be a little bit more specific, there are certain areas that we're going to look at. So if you look at your unconscious Mars, that is considered your vocation, like your job. What do you do? This is the deeper purpose and the drive behind your why. If you look at your unconscious moon, this is your magnetic gift. This is the trait that naturally draws people to you. Your conscious Uranus, this is what makes you different. This is the qualities that set you apart in your industry, your niche, or whatever you're doing. Your conscious sun. This is the energy, the personal brand. This is the purpose. This is what you bring. The core energy that radiates and that it brings the essence to your personal brand. That's what your conscious sun is. Um, your conscious Mercury is your main form or main way of communicating and how you show up. So it's the natural way of expressing yourself and connecting with others. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is because you're going to have to like look up your line and then see what you're going to have to look up the number and kind of see what is part of that number. And I do have a resource that I will attach to all of these things where you can kind of look those things up and you can kind of read about each one in more detail. Okay. Where am I at? Unconscious Jupiter. This is your community. This is the energy that shapes how you create and nurture your community. Your conscious Venus is your actual brand. It's the aesthetics, it's the value, it's the vibe that represents your brand. Your conscious Jupiter is your money and abundance. This is the energy behind how you attract abundance and financial success. So now we get to your conscious North Node. This is your highest purpose, your ultimate goal of life or your life purpose. It's the guiding long-term direction. So this is the long game of where you're trying to go. Your conscious North and South node together is your quality of your message. It is the evolution of your voice because the South node is considered the past and the North node is considered your future and where you're going. So think about how you transition from old to new, like in that transition. The other piece, this is the last one, your unconscious nodes speaks to your environment. So there are some nuances about that, but this is your ideal environment, your space to help you thrive and be creative and create impact. So mine is caves, even though my desk doesn't technically face a certain way, but when I'm in my enclosed space that I can control, that's when the magic happens. So that's where we're at. Okay. So when it comes to marketing, and these are the things that you want to look at is making sure in your website, it's like, what is your website and your domain information? SEO helps. Who are you hosting with? So these are just some logistical things. Are you doing referrals and directories? Sometimes those cost money. Are you doing flyers or business cards? Are you just email marketing? Are you doing newsletters or blogs or social media or workshops, trainings, podcasts? Like whatever you're doing to like market yourself, this is how you would technically do that. Okay, so let's do a quick energy check. And let's think about like where we're at for how you're processing, because this is a lot of information. And I know that this is a lot of information. And so what feels aligned, what doesn't, what are some things that you think that you can put in place? What are some things that you feel are challenging? Just take a moment and check in with yourself. How does all of this reflect to your ideal client? We got to look at all those moving pieces. Okay, let's keep this party moving. So, I know the money conversation is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but when it comes to how we operate in our practice, our money is actually an extension of where we are energetically. And if we are not aligned with ourselves, then the money is not going to be aligned. And it's a lot about where our energy is. And so just think about like, yes, we need to know the numbers, we need to know the specific things, but it's also about how What is our money stories we've been telling ourselves? What are the money stories we grew up with? Remember, by the time we're 13, what are the shame we have around money, the guilt we have around money? Like, what is that? Because if you don't address those things, they are going to come into your practice as well, and how you move through things connected to money. Okay. So let's look at, like, how is this connected in our centers and where does this come from? Because there are specific gates and channels that are connected to our design that is actually connected to money. So when you look at your chart, these are the things that you're going to start looking for, because I want the money piece or the financial piece to feel good to you, because our mindset is everything when it comes to that. If you have a defined route, you are consistent when it comes to trying to meet deadlines. So, like, if they say you need to get something done by this time, then you can get it done, and you don't feel, you will feel pressure, but you know, know that you can get it done. You know that if you have the space, you can rock that out. If you have an undefined heart, your will, meaning, so you struggle to charge, not saying that you will, but you may struggle to charge what you're worth, because you feel like you have to prove yourself. And I know that's me. I've been there in the past because I have an undefined heart. And so it's knowing about, like, not being scared or having scarcity around yourself and your work, but it's being able to know that the energy that I'm putting out there, it's great energy. Like, we will love it. It's going to help people. Like, it's that positive energy that's behind everything. And then that is what's going to say things about you. If you tend to have an open sacral, you are working harder than the energy allows to meet whatever goals you have in place. So again, there's a component of, we need to understand and have the mindset of the money piece, but it's also the financial piece where we need to know, like, the numbers and the things. And so you have to be able to figure out how to make the two work together. So, how do we price in alignment, and how do we use this alignment? Well, again, it starts with you being grounded and having a grounded central nervous system. It starts there. That is everything. Remember that. We started this off with that. And if you're never grounded in that space, then how are you supposed to make decisions and be in alignment with your energy if it's not there? And so so I put here, like, here are some examples of how you could be in alignment according to your actual energy type and according to your authority. And so just sit with this and see what comes up. I want you to maybe take a minute and say what feels energetically fair at the time, energy, and the transformational things that I offer. And then from that, you make adjustments according to your strategy and authority. So if you have some things that are currently in place, then do that. If you don't, then think about it. So here's a conversation that I had with one of my associates actually yesterday. It's a newer associate that I have. She's working on building her practice. And so we're going through her website because, all the things we got to do. Going through her website, I noticed that she has sliding scale on her fees. And I says, okay, so why are you doing sliding scale? And she says, well, I want to make sure that it's accessible. And she's giving me all these reasons, which are great reasons to have a sliding scale, because yes, we want it to be accessible. We want to be able to reach our people. Yes, we do want to do that. But then I was asking her, well, what does that feel like internally with you? And there was a little bit of hesitation. I couldn't really come up with the words. And I says, okay, so this is why we may need to look at how are we structuring things. And it needs to be a little bit different and a little bit more aligned. So we were talking about how that connects to insurance and how, so we were talking about all the things kind of around setting her fee. And we're going to talk specifically how to do that in a second. But we were talking about it, and then it came up to be aligned with where she's at right now. What felt good to her in the moment was to maybe have one fee. Don't worry about insurance. Don't worry about all these things that she's future predicting. And it's like, this is the one fee. Now, we can find other ways to give back to our community, which where we wouldn't have to do a sliding scale. Yes, we can do that. There's a million ways that we could do that. But it's about not short guessing yourself and like the value and the work that you do, you know, and think about like how you want to put things in place that is doesn't have to stay that way. You can make decisions and be aligned where you are currently right now, but then as you get more skills, as you grow, as your practice grows, you can make adjustments as long as you do it in the timely fashion and give notice. And that's that. Okay, so what does it feel like to have financial goals that really feel good? So, when we look at our chart and we're looking this through our chart, if you have an undefined heart, you let go of the external pressures to prove yourself through your income. So like you just like it's not that. It's it's more of you have to put your stuff out there or be confident that, okay, the person that needs to hear this or the person that needs this will come. They will show up. They will do their things. And if you're consistently putting that energy out there, then the income comes later on. If you have a defined G center, this is your sense of identity and the direction that anchors the financial clarity. So, like if it's defined, it's it's there. It's just being able to work around all the other pieces to make sure that it starts showing up and it's in alignment. If you have an undefined solar plex, then you have to be mindful of absorbing financial stress from your clients and family and whoever else. So I don't have, or do I? So you have to think about like you can't take on other people's things. Remember, if it's defined, it's yours. If it's undefined, it's someone else's. So we want to look at how is that translating for you. So in order to be manageable and building the goals, you want to look at like yes, you want to have looking at your design, you may as a manifestor want to have big goals. Yeah. You got the vision for that. If you're a generator, you want to take smaller actions that are more aligned. That's where you're at. If you're managing, you're somewhere in the middle. If you're a projector, what are the boundaries you have in place to to avoid burnout? Because we don't want to burn out. We're not trying to respond when we're not supposed to. If you're a reflector, what environment is best for your financial clarity? Like, what is that? Remember, you're taking it all in and you're just everywhere. So, here's some questions you want to ask is like, what income allows me to live in alignment with my design? And then, how can you create that natural flow based upon your energy flow and the energy you have? How can you create that? So, like right now, I am still in a space where I work full time, like I've mentioned before, and I have my private practice on the side. And that is good to me. That is comfortable to me. Yes, I'm probably working way more than I probably need to, or my rest is a little bit more concentrated and it's not quite there. But I also know that if I want to replace my full time income, I already know what that number is, what that goal is, what I'm planning on doing. If I continue to focus on the number, then I'm not going to get there. But if I start focusing more on the energy that I'm putting out there and connecting with people and doing the things that make me happy and make me feel good and being that lighthouse and that guide, then I know at some point the energy brings the income behind all that. Okay. So the other piece that I want to throw out there, if you do have a practice, it doesn't matter if you do or you don't have a practice already. You do not have to see one-to-one clients to have a private practice. You do not. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. You do not have to have a one-to-one clients to have a practice. You can have a group, you can run groups, you can do all other sorts of things. I have quickly learned from moving with my associates and then working with one-on-one clients. I realized somewhere in that process, I don't want to work with one-on-one clients. I just don't. That's not with my energy. That's not what I feel. That's not what makes me feel good. And so I've been stepping back slowly. I didn't just kick my clients out that I had. I've been stepping back slowly about not working with one-to-one clients. And and it's funny how they've all come to this place of one by one, they come to this place like, oh, I feel good. Or for whatever reason, they can't reschedule. And then they just kind of like, oh, I'm in a good space. I'm okay. And then they reach out when they need something. But for now, I'm good with not having a lot of one-on-one clients. And so you have to think about like, what are some things that you're good at outside of maybe counseling or therapy or the practice or whatever? What are other things that you're good at? Because that could be another stream of income. It could be aligned for you. Like I have, I have I have one new associate and one associate I've been working with. One associate I've been working with had a former previous life in freaking marketing. Like, I'm like, how could you help therapists with marketing? How could you help them with that? I have another one who has done website design. How could you help therapists with website designs because our websites suck? Like, these are other things that could be more in alignment because these are things that you have maybe liked or formerly liked or whatever, and they can help you bring additional income. So, again, for the people in the back that didn't hear me, you do not have to have one-to-one people in order to have a counseling practice. Your counseling practice can look however the fuck you want it. Okay. Okay, so things to just remember. Um, check your money stories, check the things you've been telling yourself. It's not a one size fit all situation. It's not. This is how we're going to understand where we're at. The other piece is just think about like, what are some small actions that I can take today or this week to make things shift, to change the mindset, to change whatever, to make it easy and flow. Like, what are the things that you need to do to put in place? This is where I want you to be able to do that work. Okay, so let's get into the gates. Okay, so if you have, when you're looking at your chart, if you have any of these gates, they are defined. This is your stuff. If they're undefined, this is what you can pick up from other people and you can be able to harness that. But these are the gates that are attached to the money. So 21, allowing controlling money and managing resources. You know how to do that. Yes, you're good at that. I think I actually have gate 21. 45, you are the gatherer. So you focus on leadership and creating the wealth for your community. So it comes through your community. 14, the powerful skills. Wealth flows when you follow your passions and do the work you love. Gate 2, the direction of resource. Attracts money by following intuition and trusting your path. 54, the ambitious climber. This is about ambition and achieving material success. Now, if you have that and you're a projector, your success, it has to look a little different. But then you have 27, the nurturer. This one it's tied to generosity and providing for others. So this is the like kind of like a giver, kind of like you're taking care of other people. How can you want to give to yourself, but it's about the generosity piece of giving. So these are the gates that are specifically connected to like the money. So take a minute, kind of look it up. Again, I'm going to give you a place to look up the gates and channels, and then you can figure out like, okay, the ones I have, how can I amplify that because it's mine, the one that are defined, and then if they're undefined, how can I call that in and bring that in to me? Okay, here are the main channels for the money pieces. Okay. So 21 to 45, this is the actual money channel. This is balancing, managing personal resources and contributing to the group. So your group could be your family, the group could be whoever it's managing. 14 and 2, the channel of the beat. Wealth flows when you trust your rhythm and unique talents. That's it. Just follow the beat, follow the rhythm. 5432, the channel of transformation. This one is about turning ambition into a long lasting success. Okay, so success can look different for everyone, and just kind of remember that. But what does that look like? These are the main channels. Again, if these channels are defined for you, this is yours. How can you amplify it? If you don't have them, or you have part of it, how can you amplify, or how can you create a place to amplify and bring that in for yourself? Okay. All right, we are almost done. We're kind of at this like half an hour mark, 90 minutes, but this one is jam packed. Boy, I didn't expect it to be this way. So, how can we practice being in alignment, and how can we incorporate this into how we start functioning and doing things? So, one, we need to explore our gates and channels. We need to just understand and identify what's already in our chart, and then how can we bring in the pieces that aren't there, and how can we use the undefined parts to our advantage. The second thing is understanding the natural money energy. So again, 14, 27, and 45. It's just these are the ones that can help us understand the natural flow. Aligning our practices and our financial goals. This is gate 21, 2, and 54. Now you can go back and kind of go through those again. But again, this is going to help us align and be move towards whatever the financial goals are. The last piece is we want you to adjust pricing, your price. We want you to have financial goals. We want you to have multiple streams of income, but we want you to do it based upon your design, your gates, and your channels. Nothing else. Stop focusing on what is outside of you and think about what is internal to you. Because if it feels good to you and it's internal to you, then it will help you be in a better place financially, and maybe more freedom, more independence, like whatever that is. Because a lot of things that happen is when you try to do these money mindsets or understand all these pieces about money and finances, they're like, well, what are your goals? Well, I want to make 100K and I want to have financial freedom and I want to have this, I want to have that. Yes, those things are great, but that's focused on external circumstances that have to happen in order for you to achieve that. And if we change our focus to what is happening internally and are we aligned internally, then the external things are going to happen. Like, yes, I have like become financially or FIRE. It's a acronym for financially independent, retire early. Like, yes, I have a version of that in my goals, and I actually don't like goals. I like other things, but I digress. And so it's there, but that's not what the focus is. The focus is what is happening inside of me and internally, and how am I radiating to the world, bringing my gifts to the world. Okay, so here's some things that we need to think about the financial pieces in the actual practice. So remember, we got to pay for our license, right? We got to pay every 2 years for that and have CEUs every 2 years. I think the current fee is 165, I think, to renew. Um, or maybe that's to be new. I don't know. Don't quote me. Uh, you need to have a budget, not just a business budget, but you need to budget personally. I know the two should be separate or need to be separate, but you kind of need to know what's going on, because if you're going to pay yourself as you have your business and you're going to pay yourself, you kind of need to know how much you can pay yourself. And then what do you do when you pay yourself? So typically, my practice supports the practice itself, right? But when I pay myself, I really don't have a pay schedule, but I try to. When I pay myself, that goes into a totally different like fund, because that is the stuff that I use for like fun money. That's the stuff that I use for like vacations, for saving something for something particular. So that's kind of how I have things set up. Now, for you, it could be very different. Remember, I have a full-time job. If you have your practice as your only sole income, you still need to have a personal budget, because it's just going to help you have the clarity that you need on being able to track. You can do it electronically. You don't need, spreadsheets and all this. You can do things electronically. You need to just know and understand where everything is going. You can keep it simple or as complicated as you like. I like it simple. I think I use my calendar, my paper calendar, to know what bills are and when they're due, and like then go in and pay it, and like that's it. And I have a budget. Okay, so these are the things that you need. Making sure you have, again, a separate bank account, know how to do bookkeeping. If you don't have a bookkeeper, you don't need to pay for one, but you can figure out how to do that. There's a simple way to do it, especially if you don't have a lot of expenses, or have an accountant if you need to. Know what your payments are, like for your monthly subscriptions. What is your payments for your services, your fees, like just knowing all these things. Make sure there's policies in place in your paperwork. And if you are listening to this, you're going to have access to all my paperwork that you can download and redo yourself, plug in your stuff, and there's policies in there. There's also the uh, good faith estimate. That's the GFE. And basically, that's just, this is how much stuff costs. There's all that stuff is in there. And then taxes. So if you are self-employed, you're not going to just like, it's not like having a W-2 job where they automatically take out taxes. You're going to have a separate bank account or a separate savings account and just take a little bit out. We'll talk about that in a second, but just take a little bit out and put it in there. It'll save you in the end if you want to have good practices. Okay, so let's quickly, let's do the math. Let's do the math. Okay, so if you are starting out and you're looking at wanting to do just one-to-one counseling, this is where we're going to start, because this is the basis of where most people kind of understand things. Okay, you're going to take what is the income that you want before taxes per year. So I kept it simple, and I gave 75,000. Okay, then you're going to divide that number by what is the number of hours or weeks you want off of work. So, well, you want to divide it by the number of weeks that you're actually working, but think about the number of weeks you actually want off. So if there's 52 weeks in a year, do you want the 2 weeks for Christmas because you got kids? Do you want the 1 week for spring break? Do you want, you know, you take summer vacation, you have all these things. So I did 46 because that kind of includes all the school week holidays and some summertime vacation. Um, Based upon the amount that's there, you would need 1630 for the week of income. Okay. So then what you would do is you would take your weekly income and divide it by what your fee is. So here where I live in Hayes County, the average is $100. We're trying to keep the math easy. So that will be 16.3 clients a week. Now, personally, I think 16.3 clients is freaking insane. It's just insane still. Because then I have another example where people who actually see clients, 20 clients, 30 clients in a week, that's insane to me. They can charge, say, $70, which would be less, and you would see more clients. I just think that's insane. I'm just saying. But so me being the person who still doesn't want to have 16 clients, you can adjust your fee based upon how many clients you're willing to see or not willing to see. The reason why, even though I know I just talked about like having different streams of income and having this, the basis of everything that you do in your practice should be off of one-to-one clients, because that's what makes understanding the math and where you can make changes and where you can put extra things in or take things out. It makes it easier to understand that. So if I know that I need to make $1,600 a week in my practice, it doesn't matter if I'm seeing 16 clients or not. Maybe I'm doing something else. Maybe I have intensives. So what if my intensives cost like $1,500, or maybe they cost $1,600? Then I only have to do one of those a week. So then that means when you're looking at the monthly income, maybe one week you have intensives, one week you do a workshop, or you do a couple workshops, or you do whatever, and then you see clients, as you see clients spread out through the month, that equals, the 1600. So it makes how you start renegotiating and moving the math around, it makes it a little bit easier when you understand what the base is. This is all it is a base, nothing else. I am not saying that you need to see 16 clients a week, because I just think that is insane. But if this is a place where you want to start to see clients before you start adding things in, you know what that number is. And from there, you can either see less and put different things in, or you can see that and then you can make changes based upon if you want to increase your fee, if you want whatever that is. So this is the base foundation. When it comes to taxes, you typically your income, you want to do 20% of your income to taxes. You just kind of want to set that to the side, which also, and if you want to do a little extra, you also want to add in a little bit for retirement. So think about overall, taxes are about 15, you could say 10 about for retirement, and operating expenses about 15, something like that, whatever. So overall, out of your check you have, or you pay yourself each week, there should be at least, let's say, 30% that goes to a whole nother account, like a savings account, that will be for your taxes, retirement, and operating expenses. So that's just how we're going to do the math on this one. Okay. So for this one, I want you to think about putting things in place that you can understand, like, where's your energy, where things work for you, where things don't work for you, what is the plan, the budget, like, what is it? Like, this is the place where I want you to take a minute and do that part, okay? So you know exactly what is a line and what isn't a line. If you need to raise your rates, raise your rates. Just do it ethically. If you are just starting out, start where you feel good. Does it include insurance? Does it not include insurance? Just what feels good to you, and is based upon your strategy, authority, and all those money gates that we talked about. Okay, so this is where we are kind of putting it all together. I know we're a little bit long, but we're going to start putting this together, and we're going to make this feel cohesive or understanding, I guess. So how do we do that? And then how do we attach this to ourself, our design, how do we connect all this stuff? So first is owning your own unique practice. Your human design is not just a chart, it's not just anything, it's an energetic blueprint for alignment. And if we learn to lean into that, we know that it's unique, it's different. So it doesn't matter what type you are not going to be the same as the next person that has the same type. So an example of that is, like, I am a projector, but my husband is also a projector too. I'm emotional, he is not. He's a mental projector. So the way we do things is differently. But what I have found is, like, I can, when, like, we need to make decisions, especially when it's financial decisions, I'll start asking him questions to see what's in his head or what comes out, because he partly needs to talk about it. And then I have to sit with my wave, and that's how we can come to a better financial decision. And it's been working great since we've kind of implemented that, or I've implemented that. I don't know if he really knows that. The next step is overcoming imposter syndrome. We know that this is something that was placed upon us as a community. There's a great keynote speech or graduation speech that I saw one time, and she was just basically talking about how this is fake. This is what people put on us. And it's like, we have to learn to get out of our own way. But one way to be able to do this is that we have to have the, not reasons, but we have to have, like, the list of things that we have done that are good, and we need to keep that in our forefront so that we understand that we are doing this because this is something that we desire or we want, And we're not going to allow like the voice or the stories or whoever else that's like there to tell us otherwise. Because if no one has told you you're doing great, and yes, I know this journey can suck and it can be long and it can be all these things, but you're doing a great job. And it's just keep trusting yourself, keep trusting in your strategy and your authority to be grounded in your decisions to move forward. We want to be aligned in our energy and our values. And so, yes, they have to work together in order for all of this to work. Like, you can't just be sloppy with things, and you need to think about doing an audit of where are you having energy leaks? Where are things not working? And then how can we plug those in and make everything a little bit more in alignment? And just kind of understand like um what are the relationships that we have with other people and how does that play into things? We want to create a sustainable plan. Like without a plan, we don't do well. Um and so build systems based upon your authority. Leave it at that. Strategy and authority. If you walk away with nothing else, I'm going to say it again. Lean into your strategy and your authority. It's going to be the answer to a lot of things. um it's kind of like what would Jesus do is going to be like what would my strategy and authority do kind of thing. All right, so lean into that. Use your defined centers to create structure and stability, and use the undefined centers to get the ideas or the things that you're needing and kind of bring them in and then process them through your own way and then put them back out in the world so that they just work. We're going to anchor in confidence and clarity. So this is not like a one size fit all. Like, yes, I learned my human design. I know the type, the profile. This is not something that is like a one and done situation. When it comes to human design, I still learn stuff about my human design every day, and or every time I look at my chart or when I take a new class or to learn more about it, there's something new. I know I have jam packed today with a lot of stuff, but it is something that I think could, if you just keep learning little bits and keep experimenting, you will kind of find a rhythm and find things that are working for you. And you'll get the insight that you need, and it'll create the confidence and clarity that you're probably looking for. You want to make sure that you are moving forward with intention. So I don't like goals. Yes, they're important, but I like intentions better. Intentions are just the things that we are making forward progress. We're not perfect. We're going to trust our energy, and we're going to know that we can do the things that we can do. We're going to lean into our energy type. We're going to do all the things. We're going to keep checking in with ourselves. We're going to, pull back any of the conditioning that we've had. We're going to keep looking forward to that. We are also going to end with gratitude and momentum. So when we reflect in our human design, it has it has the potential for clarity and alignment for us, for a lot of people. We also want to look at like what parts of it feels good and what parts I don't understand, what parts I do understand. You just want some reflection and you want to be grateful. Take some time to write that down if you need to. Lean into that, because sometimes when we're in that still moment is when we understand what the gratitude is and what the practice is. So these are the things that I think if you can lean into your strategy, your authority, and then just understanding parts of your design that we have talked about today, this can help you build a more aligned practice. Now, again, I didn't start out this way, but these were things that I started implementing into my practice over time. And as I've done that, it has made things better, easier, friendlier, less stressful, less overwhelming, and it's just been a really good thing for me. Okay, as we move into this last piece, this is kind of where I want to leave things because we covered so much today, and I don't want you feeling like incomplete and feeling like, oh my God, there's just so much shit to do. So I want to kind of leave you with a little kind of releasing, activating kind of healing in this space. Um, and if you know anything about my work, my previous work, I worked with women who have had fibroids, PCOS, endo, PMDD. And then there's energetic ties to all those things. And there's our womb space is the space of like creativity and like all the things that we need as a human. Doesn't matter if you're man or woman, but specifically women. And it's it's like the creator of life, the life force. And so we oftentimes need to clear that space in order to make something else grow or to be better. So that's kind of like where I want to leave us today. So, what I would like for you to do is take a moment and get in a comfortable position. I just want you to listen. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable, but I want you to sit comfortably in a comfortable position for this meditation. Let's start by taking a deep healing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. With each breath, feel that air and the beautiful healing energy begin to flow through our body. Without any direction, just allow the energy to flow and begin to connect with this energy and your breath. By connecting to your breath, you are able to fully activate the energies within your centers, ourselves, and within all levels of our being. Know that your core, your foundation, and your inner light is guiding you from a place of personal power and allowing you to show up as your authentic self. As you take your next healing breath, focus on your root space. This is found in your tailbone or your pelvic floor. This space is the foundation of your being. It grounds and anchors you. As you breathe into this space, begin to activate this beautiful energy and know that it provides you safety and security. Activate the red, swirling, twinkly light, breathing into that space, the fire from within, the red energy that is expanding. Now move your focus to your womb space, igniting your internal light, your womb light, breathing in and out and cultivating that energy. Imagine your womb space with a beautiful orange cloud twirling, swirling light, energy, and seeing it move in every direction. As you activate your creativity, your sensuality, your expansiveness, sexuality, fun, joy, and pleasure, feel that energy begin activated from within your womb space, connecting into the beautiful, divine, feminine energy that lives there. Feeling the activation rise up within you. Move your awareness and energy and breath into your belly, your upper abdomen, just below your rib cage, but above your belly button. As you breathe into this space and feel that energy activate, visualize a beautiful yellow, shiny light, twirling and swirling light in that space. Know that you are igniting this activation from a place of personal free will. Your emotional core is knowing that you are in alignment and flow with all of your emotions. You know how to navigate and explore those emotions that do not serve your highest good. And you now have the tools to disintegrate those from your energy. Focus on cultivating joy, happiness, love, compassion, and empathy. These are the beautiful emotions that serve your highest and greatest good. We activate them now from this center. Now move your breath and attention to your heart space. Feel the gratitude for the love within. Feel the expansion for the love beyond your physical being, beyond your emotional and mental space, and move your energetic body. Connecting into your sisters, connecting into the collective consciousness of all women, connecting into all the natural spirits, energetic spirits, and beyond. This all begins from your heart. Feel this energy, beautiful green swirling light, become activated within your heart. Feel this energy that you cultivate rise up through your roots, into your womb, into your belly, and through the heart as it expands as your activation becomes stronger. Breathe into the space. Bask in its love, gratitude, compassion, self devotion, and acceptance. Breathing into your maternal bloodline, connecting into the wisdom that you have within you, and activating that energy. Allow it to be your guide. Allow her to set forth a path that is right, not only for here and now, but for your entire soul destiny here on earth. Feel the activation fully from your root all the way up to your heart. You may feel the swirling sensation and energy you cultivated being activated and moving through all of your energy centers, rising up that beautiful divine energy within you, that beautiful, powerful light within you. Allow it to rise up, 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 all the way through your body and fill your cup so much that every level of your being to overpour this active energy into your passions, into your relationships, into your goals, into your intentions, into your spiritual practices, into your soul purpose, and into your pleasure. Allow it to activate so that you can pour your healing journey. As you take a few deep breaths, allow this energy to activate within you and on all levels. You are choosing, you are deciding, you are declaring that this activation is occurring within your physical body, your mental body, your soul body, your emotional body, and all of your energetic bodies that expand far beyond your physical self. And you feel this activation take place as this energy rises from the root, through the womb, through the belly, and into your heart, preparing to be expanded and ignited, allowing your personal flame to shine so bright and allowing the energy and the force that you have within you make a way upward and outward into the highest and greatest good, activating yourself on so many levels. Remember that you can return to this space of activation at any moment, whether it be by your breath, by your energy work, or simply just listening to this recording again. Remember to surround or surrender to what's within you. Know with absolute certainty and faith that you are enough, exactly who you are in this moment, to be fully activated in your highest and greatest good. Thank you, thank you, Thank you. It is done, and it is so. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and join us. I hope that today was good for you and that you were able to walk away with some nuggets of information, things to think about, things to ponder. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments below this video. Make sure you send me an email if you need to. But this is just the foundation of how you can work with your own energy and to make sure that you are operating from a safe and regulated space that is aligned with your unique energy type. So I know it's been a long one, but I'm really grateful that you guys were here and that you took something away from this. And make sure you share this with a friend who probably needed to hear it. But you guys have a good one. Bye for now.